You ready? Let's go. 2-minute daily Devo for Thursday, July 14th. I'm in the Contemporary English Version today, and our verse of the day comes from the book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 37. I want to give you a little context here before we get to our verse of the day. In verse 26 of Luke chapter 1, Mary is visited by an angel. And she's visited by the angel Gabriel, and Gabriel comes to tell her that she's going to be pregnant with the Son of God. And she is obviously freaking out, and she's obviously afraid. And he comes to her and he says that you are blessed and that the Lord is with you. And she's confused and she doesn't know how, because she's not even married yet and she's still a virgin. So how is this going to be? He then goes on to say that there's some other things that are happening, that the Holy Spirit's going to come upon you. Then he says this in verse 36, your relative Elizabeth is also pregnant, even though she is old, and no one thought that she could have a baby, but in 3 months she's going to have a son. So Mary is bombarded with all of this incredible news. First of all, an angel shows up, and that's freaky and scary enough and shocking enough. But then he says you're going to be pregnant, and she's still a virgin. Then he says that your cousin Elizabeth, who is super old, is also going to have a baby. And so she's trying to take all this in, and she's, kind of contemplating this and thinking about this and freaking out and wondering how this is going to happen. And then verse 37, our verse of the day, something that puts her mind to ease and calms her fears and gives her peace over all this situation. Here's what it says. Verse 37, nothing is impossible for God. Nothing is impossible for God. And at that moment, the peace of God comes over Mary. And she says in verse 38, I am the Lord's servant. Let it happen as you have said. So Mary is bombarded with all these things. The angel says, wait a minute, Mary, remember this. In everything else that's going on, and everything that seems impossible and crazy and outlandish and it could never happen, remember this. Nothing is impossible with God. Immediately, Mary says, you're right. That's exactly right. It snaps her back to reality. She says, you're right. Let it happen as you've said. I want to encourage you today that I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know what you're dealing with, whether it's financial or spiritual or in your marriage or with your kids, in your job, in your body, with your health. I don't know what you're dealing with. But let me tell you this, through all the problems and through all the things that seem so crazy and so unbelievable, and there's no way that you could ever figure this out, and it's too big for you to handle, let me say this to you. Nothing is impossible with God. He can do it. Nothing's impossible with him. All right? That's it, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow.